Hello and welcome. We are going to be interviewing the fabulous Melissa Darding today. Thank you for joining us. We would like to hear all about your massage success story. So thanks for joining.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. You just wanted to take off and start?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I always like to ask about the origin story first. So how did you decide to become a massage therapist? How did that even start?
So this is kind of a funny story. First of all, I never had my very first massage until I was like 48 or 49 years old. And so if anyone would have told me I would be in this field, I would have said, "You're crazy." However, I ended up with a lot of injuries from overdoing things out on my property. So I had medical massage therapy from someone who encouraged me that I might be good at this. So I was looking for a second career, and I went to massage school at 51, and I was the oldest one in the class. So I felt that little age card a lot. And I knew that I wanted to hit the ground running because I wasn't sure how long I would do this.
Right.
And I didn't know if I were going to be successful. And so I just didn't want to play around with taking 10 to 20 years to grow practice. So I had the means to be able to rent a room. And so I started begging people to let me work on them. And some of them felt terrible about taking free massage. But I said, "Don't worry, you'll help me be a better therapist and I can hit the ground running." So what happened is that when I finally graduated, there were 2 more months before I got licensed. So by the time I got licensed, I had done 650 massages for free.
Woo!
Now, I know and not all of those were just hours. Sometimes I would do 1.5 hours, or even back in that day, 2 hour massages. So probably more hours than that, but 650 people. And so, honestly, it took that long just to get my confidence up. And so I never was sorry that I did that. It was a lot of free work, but it held me in good stead. I learned so much before I ever even got my license and I was full time. I have always been full time. I've never had to worry about clientele. Sometimes it would get a little thin with people tracked out of, they didn't want to be a regular and they tracked out of their treatment plans. But early on, I found I needed to sell treatment plans, not just, "Oh, call me if you need something." I started seeing I needed to make a treatment plan because they would ask me, "Well, what do you think?" Well, I was insecure. We all are when we first start out. And, but I began to see that I needed to make a recommendation. So in the beginning, it took me longer to fix everything because I was on a learning curve myself. So I would say, give me 3 to 6 massages. And I was also on a learning curve for personal training, which I'll get into in a second. So it began to be, I started being able to fix things quicker. So it began to be 3, and then it's 2. And pretty much I can almost fix everything in one massage. But that depends on if they go home and do the recommendations I give them. So partway through all of that, here's a life changing comment. One of my patients, I was about a year in, and he looked at me and he said, "Why don't I get better?" Now, I could have had an ego thing going on there, but instead I said, "Why don't you get better?" And that totally changed my life and it changed my practice. So I began to look at the why behind what's going on. And first of all, I went to a really great school, stellar assessment, came out certified in neuromuscular therapy. So I was ahead of a lot of people for the pain relief career that I wanted. However, neuromuscular therapy doesn't go to the why behind it. Neuromuscular therapy says, "Oh, you have this pain pattern. X marks the spot. Put your elbow there or your finger there." So it doesn't fix the why of why they have the pain in the first place. So he started me on that. And then I began in Ohio, you can't give exercise or stretches out. So I had to just tell them, you kind of get around that with, "My aunt did this," or "Somebody showed me this stretch in the doorway." So I began to see, though, that I needed a plan. So then I went to school online and became a certified personal trainer through National Strength and Conditioning Association so that I could begin to give exercise plans out and stretching and make up a plan for them. And then I began to see putting all that together, corrective massage, stretching, light exercise, began to get most of their pain, if not all of it, out and give them back their quality of life. So that's where I am. And then launching a teaching career because in my area, I see so many people who graduate from schools that aren't pain relief schools. They don't know how to fix it. So, well, somebody the other day, very rounded, very, very rounded. And someone gave her a massage and tried to dig this upper trap out. And she got a migraine from it. So that's why I want to do CEs and I want to teach the cause and effect, the whole line, the here's this pattern and here's what you can do for it to really help people better and also to help therapists be better therapists.
Okay, thank you. That was a great summary, actually. And I kind of want to go back and sort of dive a little deeper into parts of that. So you already, like you said, did all those 650 massages. You had built your confidence with your hands by the time you even got your license. I've never heard that before. I just want to acknowledge that you
Oh,
did that. That is a very overachieving, impressive thing that you did. And I remember you telling me in our program that you were able to maintain a lot of those as paying clients, right? Like, do you think that you still have some of those clients as now paid clients?
oh, absolutely. And this is so cool. I have still the very first client I ever had who came to my house before I was licensed and came here for free. And she is still with me 11 years later, licensed. Yeah. And then I have some others too.
I
Mhm.
love that.
I do
Okay.
too.
Um,
And
I
they've
also
seen the change in me, by the way. They've stayed with me, seeing my progression, my evolution, and will comment here and there about it. And it's been cool to see them see me in my evolution.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about technique and then I want to talk about business.
Mhm.
So, what, like, obviously you learned neuromuscular, but what other styles of body work and training have you received? And then what would you say your style of technique is now?
So I really haven't done a lot of CEs. I have I've done a myofascial release seminar. I've done a Pilates movement and fascial movement seminar, and then I've done some Eric Dalton myoskeletal alignment. I would say those have all helped a lot, but I would say it's the thousands of hours that I spent alone thinking, why doesn't this release? What happens if I do this? What if I lighten up here? Then I began to see the nuances of I do a leg test, for instance, to check glute strength. And then I began to see, oh, that leg bent when it came up. Oh, that cross torso, say we're lifting the left leg, the right chest and shoulder come up off the table. Okay, so that's compensation. So I just began to file all that away and see various things that nuances that were going on. That did take thousands of hours, I have to say. I haven't taken that many CEs. I just have really worked hard thinking, researching, analyzing. I have I watch for the tiniest nuances and can pick up so much from watching structure, watching how they breathe, how they walk, how they sit. And I ask a lot of questions. How do they move? How do they sleep? What did they do that weekend? What did they do? How did they work? What's the repetitive motion they do at work? Well, I let them know. I ask a ton of questions. And then sometimes it takes up to three questions or three sessions before sometimes things are figured out. And I guess just be willing to stay the course and keep searching, keep working, keep learning them, keep I just never give up. I think that's part of it. I never ever give up. And as long as they want to stay with me, I'm going to keep searching for an answer for their pain.
I love that so much. Okay, going into business. So you've never really had to market your massage practice, right? You were never
Not once.
like, how am I going to put myself out there? How are people going to even know that I exist?
Right. And that's truth. That's there's not anything wrong in those two statements. And I would just say first of all, I begged everybody I knew to come and get massage for free. And then they told their people, and a lot of people came for the free massage. Fine, that's what I was there for. And then I started networking with everybody. The carpet guy, he's such a great guy. And he came to my house and lots of people say, I have this knot right here, got this pain in my back. And he said, I have this pain in my back. And I said, okay, I was fresh out of the gate. I said, I'm going to make you a deal. I'm going to sell you a package of 4. And if I don't get your pain out by the 4th one, I'll give you your money back. He said, deal. And then he gets on my table and he said, if you get this out in one session, I'm going to be so angry at the chiropractor. I got it out in one session. So, and then I made him a deal. Every referral, he got a half hour massage. And then I had to go to every 2. And then one time I was unhooked to him for 5 hours of massage because he helped build my business a
Wow.
lot. So he's a dear friend of mine and I appreciate him. But so my husband knew a lot of people, and if I were in a restaurant and he'd say, oh, she just graduated from massage school, and they'd be like, can you give me a little sample? Yeah, I went all the way around the table and sampled every single one of them and got a couple clients out of that. So always networking, always saying, look, I know you love your massage therapist. I'm not trying to take anyone's business, but what if you just saw me as a specialist to fix a couple of things? You can go right back to that person because I know you have that, warm and dear relationship, because not everybody can fix everything. It's just
Right.
how it is.
Yeah. And you really very clearly became a pain relief sort of
I
fix
did.
it type of practitioner. And that
Yep.
was your goal. And that's what now your reputation around town
Well,
is that.
it
And
is.
so would you say at this point, people know you as the pain relief person?
Yes. And not only that, but also as, like, one person said, go to her. She will tell you what's wrong. She will get to the bottom of it. And then she will tell you how to fix it, including giving you stretches and exercise. So they know that it's the full package deal, which
Hmm.
is what I love because my heart is to empower people, not to tie them to my table. And you can edit this if you think it shouldn't belong, but I had 3 different therapists say, well, if I fix everything, they won't come back. And I just decided that wasn't going to be me, that I was going to empower people. And you know what? They tell everyone they know about me, and they may not. I got a client from a referral, and that person hadn't been in for 5 or 6 years, but that person still remembers me and referred somebody to me. So that's a misnomer. Fix it all, help them to your best extent of your ability, and they'll tell everyone they know about you. You don't have to worry about that.
I love this. Well, clearly
Mhm.
your technical skills are there. I always feel like I want to just this is one of the pillars that I teach is um te in my technique pillar, listen and care is one of the lessons, and I just feel like you really have a certain interpersonal relationship with your clients. They feel like you care
Sure.
about them. They feel like you're listening. Do you feel that that helps like loyalty and sort of this like feeling of like people wanting to tell people around town about you? How do you think that plays into it?
It's huge because and I do go over time sometimes, and I see on the forums, never be late, never go over. And I sort of disagree with that because I'm not just going to, if I find something at the last minute, which happens, I'm just not going to stop the clock and say, well, you're going to have to come back if you want me to fix it. So, and I'm not going to stop if I still have one leg left. You know what I mean? It's just those kind of things. But back to the interpersonal, um, they know I really care about them, and they know my heart is to keep trying to help them until I can't anymore. And they just, a lot of them say, you actually give a damn, or you actually care. And they've been to a lot of people who don't. And a lot of, I'm going to say, I've figured out some things that actually higher level practitioners, will leave it there. I figured out some things that they haven't because I went the extra mile. And if I didn't know, I researched it. And so they know I actually care and I'm really trying to help them.
Yep, I love
Yeah.
that.
And it's huge because so many people don't get care anymore. They just are a name on a schedule and in and out in 5 to 10 minutes. You can't figure out the whole body in 5 to 10 minutes. And that's why people go from place to place and practitioner to practitioner, and they're desperate for an answer, and nobody will give them the extra time to help. And
Yeah.
it's very frustrating, but
Mm.
I'm willing.
That's
Yeah.
so true about especially chiropractors and PTs who they're just not spending quality time, most of them.
No, they're not looking at structure either. Like PTs in my area, they get their muscle eval from an actual physical therapist, and then they get put with a PTA, and they just go to the computer, give them some exercises. They're not even watching them. They're not watching form. Some of them, not all, but they're not getting that care. And all I have is this and this, and so I study structure. I study how they present on the table. What do their feet look like? What do their shoulders look like? What's their head doing? What's their breathing doing? I would just watch every single thing and try to get the whole line working. Yeah.
So far, I feel like I just want to highlight things that I feel like have made you successful based on what you've told us so far.
Mhm.
Started as a client, and
Yeah.
I just love that you had your own personal experience
Mhm.
because massage obviously was helpful for you and transformative and healing. And so that it allowed you to have a certain why you want to help people because it helped you. So
Mhm.
I feel like your why is pretty strong there. Your dog is so cute.
That's Lucy.
And then you really mastered your techniques as fast as possible with all those hours under your belt and just self-research and study and paying attention. And then the interpersonal skills with your clients and making sure that they feel like you're giving way above and beyond more energy and time and care than most. So I just think those things all by themselves can make a practitioner successful. And we don't even have to get into the nitty-gritty of, posting on Instagram or marketing funnels or anything like that. So I just want to emphasize that, I put you in kind of the old school box, but it still works, when you're coming from this genuine place and you are going above and beyond. And it's like the old cliche, I built my practice word of mouth. Well, you can when you are in the right place mentally, emotionally, and you've like mastered your craft pretty early. So
Mhm.
just want to highlight that I'm so impressed that you've done that. And again, in a sea of people trying to figure out marketing funnels and thinking that that's what they need to be successful, it's just not true with massage practice, right? If you want to grow online, that's a whole different story. But massage practice where your hands are on local people, what you just shared is a path of success.
Hmm. It is. And even the going the extra mile to somebody has a surgery, I'll check in and ask how it went. Somebody has something else, I might shoot them a text to see how that went. Remembering their kids' names, like it's all in here. What kind of music they like, what kind of sheets they like. Do they like a scent? Don't they like a scent? Do they like towels? Do they like stones? I mean, everything I do is customized for them, and they know that. And so I try to make them feel special because because they've trusted me with their very life and their health. And so I try to honor that and never take that for granted.
Nice.
And I just want to say always study and research and don't give up. And if you really want to help people, then sometimes you have to go the extra mile. Finished up a chat search this morning for my patient who has had a headache for a year. And her mother said, you've helped her more than any of the doctors that they've been to. So because
Mhm.
I take the time and I have a lot of time invested that I haven't gotten a dime for, but nobody else is helping her. And
Mhm.
I want her to get some relief from a year-long headache. That's not normal,
Right.
So that's just an example of go the extra mile. Always go the extra mile. You
Mhm.
can't go wrong with going the extra mile. Does everything come back to you the same way you gave it? No, but that's not what you do it for. But then when something comes your way that you needed, it'll be there because you've been giving. You've had an attitude of giving your whole practice. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
I really love that. I really love that as like a foundational practice.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're supposed to be in this for the right reasons, right?
Right, right. But we don't, we have to be in it and make some money because we can't keep the lights on, you know? So that's a good segue into yes, we're in it for the right reason, but we also need to be business people and charge what we're worth. And no, I probably don't charge what I'm worth, and Melinda would say that. But I also live in a very depressed area. So I'm slowly upping my hourly rate. But that being said, you want to charge what you're worth, run your business. You're going to have some hard things that you have to deal with, but you are a business person too. And so
Mm.
you have to keep that in mind that you control your schedule. You have to keep control of things. You have to keep control of people. You might have to have a little pushback once in a while, but it'll be all right. You can do it.
Yeah, you are a business person. You own the building that
Mhm.
you work out of, and you rent to how many different therapists in
I
your
have four
building?
renters. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're definitely a business owner, you're a building owner, you're providing space for other therapists to rent. Has
Mhm.
that been nice to offer that?
That's been well. I'm going to say this is super easy, and I'm going to say it because of the like the karma. Some people call it God, some people call it the universe, some people whatever. But I have never advertised for a renter. They've always come to me, and they stay, and they're just great. And we don't have any drama. Everyone's just great. And so whenever I was going to I had a renter move in December, and I was going to do an add-on room. And then I decided I wasn't ready to track all that. And as soon as I let that go, in comes the next renter. But until I let that go, it wasn't there. But as soon as it was just the coolest thing to watch her come in within a week after I made the decision, okay, I'm not ready to do that. So you got to trust yourself and you got to trust your instincts and just be open to, okay, I'm ready for a renter. And then I just let them come to me. That way I'm not out advertising and then having to screen and sort and tell this one no because if she's not a good fit. So that's how it went. It's just my
Okay.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. So we worked together in the program mostly to get some classes submitted to the NCBTMB and really start to put together your online presence for your teaching career. Can you tell us about the classes that you've put together and also the other one-on-one like tutorial offer that you have for massage
Mhm.
therapists?
So I'm going to be writing some more in addition to what I'm going to give you, but the biggies of just treating postural dysfunction, which we know from our studies, kyphosis, lordosis, sciatica, hip pain. However, at least in Ohio, we're not supposed to diagnose, so it won't be titled that. It'll be titled helping postural dysfunctions, and then going from there. So I just have to tweak that up. But also, I'm getting ready to write one on how to work feet. There's so many foot dysfunctions out there that you can help people with. Shoulder, um, carpal and cubital tunnel, or some people say cuboidal tunnel, whatever float your boat. But those syndromes, arthritic fingers, I'm trying to think. Probably I'm going to do a full neck routine as well. So pretty much there'll be something for the whole body by the time I get done. And then yeah, I'm going to offer one-on-one tutorial coaching, whatever you want to call it. And because sometimes if you really want to be a pain relief therapist, you really just have to own it. Why can't I fix this? What's wrong here? It doesn't mean you're not a good therapist. It just means maybe you need a little bit of information that you don't have yet. So there's nothing wrong with that because I did the same thing. It's like, okay, why isn't this working? Where am I missing it? And when I used to teach, I'm going to tell you, where am I missing it? 5 best words you can ever say to yourself. Then you don't get hung up on your ego. And when I taught in the massage school, I said, how many of you think you have good hands? And everybody put their hand up because they've probably been rubbing on their family members. And I said, you are only as good as the person on the table thinks you are. So then that means you have to come to the table with options and helps and all of that. And so that's what my coursework and tutorials are going to do. And I would love for people to bring some of their hard cases in, some people you trust who won't just scorn you for getting help, and just put them on the table, and I'll walk with you some things and look at their structure and their function and help you with that. I'm totally fine to do that because that's what it's going to take. And so I'm here to help you if you need some help.
Yeah,
Love helping.
one-on-one help is very unique. I mean,
Mhm.
I had one-on-one training because I had um mentors and I was their apprentice and we would go into the treatment room and they were like, put your hands like this, you're not doing
Mhm.
it hard enough, or that's not the right
Yeah,
spot. And so it's not that common for therapists to even receive that type of watchful eye. We're usually just thrown into classes, or so
that's
many
right.
therapists are learning online now. And I really think having experienced eyes on what you're
Mhm.
doing can really help. And you had one-on-one, you had a mentor also kind of
I
helping.
did. So I was seeing him for therapy because I had a hip dislocation, shoulder problem, elbow problem, all on the right side. Um, and then partway through that is when he started encouraging me to think about massage school. So then once I entered massage school, we went into more of a trade slash mentoring relationship, even though I still needed some care because I went into massage school with injury and I had a lot of pain almost the whole time I was in school.
Wow.
So he did mentor me. And that's another reason why I hit the ground running is because he knew a lot. Now he had to self teach himself NMT, which I graduated with, but he knew a lot of other things. And so between all of that, all the hours and all the mentoring and all the massage I got, because I had tons and tons and tons of therapeutic massage to get me out of all of that mess that I was in. So it all kind of came together as this package that helped me hit the ground running, plus the age card that I just knew I had to move faster than a 20-year-old. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that actually.
So I hustled. I did. I hustled all the time. I mean, I was always working and worked six days a week a lot of the first few years.
Hmm.
And I did 35 massages a week for a long time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, how much time does a person want to put into it? How successful do you want to be? How hard do you want to work? So I busted my hind end and it paid off.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to be so looking forward to you teaching, and I know we're going to be wanting to see your classes
Yes.
scheduled for, all of next year. What's your website where we can follow you and learn more about your offers?
Okay, so it's painandposturesolutions.com. There isn't a schedule up yet because this is a brand new launch. I have my first course launching on August 29 in Pennsylvania, and then I'll have one in Columbus, Ohio here once I schedule it. So I'll have two coming up here shortly, and then they'll be on my website soon. But it is a brand new launch, so
Okay,
getting
nice.
going. It's
Do
exciting.
you, yeah, I'm excited for that. Do you want to share any other pearls of wisdom that you think a therapist who's trying to be more successful should know?
The one seminar I went to that I learned a lot from him, he said, prepare to be wrong. And so I would say that that's some good advice. Where am I missing it? Prepare to be wrong. And that all sounds negative and doom and gloom, but it really isn't because that's what causes you to look within and say, okay, I have a gap here. How can I fix this? How can I know this? So 11 years in, by the way, going to hit 10,000 massages this upcoming week. And I know it's so exciting. And and so I just had an aha moment this in the past 2 weeks and saw I thought I'm pretty good at all this. I know 10,000 massages, I can correct posture, I can fix almost anything until I did a deep dive and began to see that I did have a gap in my information on some postural things. So I'm now regrouping and learning more and being willing to say, I haven't arrived and there's still more I can learn. So never give up. Don't think you've arrived, but also it's okay to trust in who you are right then. So I want to say that Where you are right now is a good thing. You're there, you passed your MBLEX, you started your practice. That's a good thing. So just keep going and keep learning and keep and also I own my stuff. I have hurt some people. Not majorly where they needed surgery or anything, but maybe stirred up something that didn't need to be stirred up, let's say. So I will put them back on the table and fix it for free. If you don't know how to fix it, then that's where you scramble, do your research, and figure it out. For instance, I took on a scoliosis patient too early in my career, didn't know what I was doing. Worked on her, and she kept saying, "That didn't hurt till you touch it. That didn't hurt till you touched it." Just she came back for a second one, and I began to get the vibe, right? That she was a little frosty about it. And she never even offered to pay me, but I turned it around. I did what I knew to do. That was very early. She went out, I assume, happy. All I cared about was not getting sued at that point, wrote it up and made sure I gave her a free massage. And so I stood behind it. And I've stood behind some other things. So stand behind your work. If they didn't come in with something burning, I had a guy let his shoulder burn for 3 weeks. I was like, oh my gosh. He said, well, you did get in there pretty good. So I said, please don't do that again. Tell me, I'll fix it for free. Get on my table. We'll clean that up. So what I did is didn't pay attention to all the other trigger points in that pattern that I should have done as well. I don't do that anymore. I learned my lesson. So you are going to have some mistakes. Just own them and figure out what you did wrong and go on. Because I could tell you a bunch more, but we all have them.
Yes, we
Don't give up.
do.
Don't give up. We all have them, and we all have a learning curve. We
Yeah,
do.
I love that. Actually, that's another lesson that I teach is always improve, because
Always.
there really is no end, like you said. And I actually think if we see therapists out there who have been doing the same massage since massage school and they have not really challenged themselves to improve in any way, they are typically not the most successful, and it's hard for them to build a clientele. Yeah.
Right. They're the ones I think that struggle a lot. And another reason why we always need to improve is because the same person that you worked on 20 times could come in and this happened. Her best friend died that morning. She should have never come for massage. She was jumping all over the table and she said, "That's the most pressure you've ever used on me." I said, "Actually, that's the lightest pressure I've ever used on you. I think you were hypersensitive because you lost your best friend." So I said, next time we'll just reschedule. So you never know what you're going to find. So that's why you're going to always improve, and why the same person can give you something you've never seen before, because it's living, breathing tissue, and they do different things, and they develop structural dysfunctions based on a new sleep pattern or a new hobby or a new job. So always using these to check structure, posture, and ask questions. What are they doing? How are they feeling? How do they sleep, eat, walk, talk, everything? How do they breathe?
Yep.
Yeah,
Very
just
good.
gather data. Always gather data.
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. Very
Well, you're
insightful.
welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Okay.